So if you could like create a perfect candidate for a loan, how much would they need to like supposedly put down for a loan?
The perfect candidate?
I have a perfect candidate.
I think someone with a heartbeat right now is a perfect candidate. If you've got, like with all the programs we have, it's a really tough thing to say, but if you have like $10,000 saved up, you're buying a house. Like you're a homeowner if you have 10 grand saved up. And that could be a myriad of different programs, down payment options, getting creative with the financing, getting creative with closing costs. But if you've got 10 grand, you're not being turned away. There's a program for you to buy a house. I think most people would hear that and be like, oh.
Yeah,
again,
I thought it was like
that's
30 to 40.
That's attainable. No, when people call me and they say, well, we've got $50,000, I don't know if that's enough. I want to like hang up the phone and do a backflip and call them back. Like, we can do this, right? Because our goal, again, is to keep as much money in the bank as possible. Right? Just because you have $30,000, $40,000 doesn't mean that you need to spend $30,000 or $40,000. If we can get you in the house and you still have $10,000 in savings or $15,000 in savings, we're going to work with you to get that to be a reality. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Don't dump it all in the house and now you're back to being like, well, now I'm stressed out again.
Right.
I'm in my lawn chair eating ramen noodles.
I always advise an emergency fund too. There's some of my clients are, should I put all of my money into it? And I'll advise them, what if there's a medical emergency or you need access to some liquidity? So I always try to keep, if I can, money in the bank so that they're not stressed.
Yeah. Predictions. I'll be totally honest. I was one of those guys at the end of 2022 saying, Fannie Mae predicts that rates are going to be in the 5s by 2023, and here we are going in the opposite direction. So I think it's really hard to predict. I think it's really hard. I think that there are a lot of smart people out there that are getting it wrong on the regular. So the only thing I'm saying is that it's going to change.
Conspiracy theorists might be true.
It's going to change. I don't know. There's a lot to 2024. Again, I don't know if we're recording that earlier. We're talking about just the consumer price index. All the things that the Fed are watching are coming in better. So there's your reason to say rates should come down. We've got seasonality coming in the fourth quarter of 2023 where real estate kind of is a slower months anyway. That should help with some of the supply and demand issues we have, right? So that should say at the turn of 2024, it's not unrealistic to think that rates are going to go down. Not getting political, but it's an election year, right? It's kind of hard to go out and campaign when rates are really high and inflation's a problem. So will that kind of help ease some pressure by making things better at that point? I personally think that there are a lot of factors that suggest that rates, in fact, will come down. One thing that's true, housing will lead into a recession and it will lead out of a recession. You can track that over the course of time, the last 30, 40 years, that's true.
Yes.
We were in a recession at the end of 2022 already, right? So we had already hit those months.
Whether you called it or not.
Whether or not somebody said it, we're in a recession. Doug Duck with Fannie Mae, I think it was yesterday, he had a CNBC video where he said realtors and lenders are feeling really bad the results of a recession right now. So we are there. You start talking to some of your other friends in other industries, it's there.
You say that, and I hear that on the news, but it's not the reality of what I'm living. We're still selling houses.
You guys are. We're seeing it if
Yeah.
you track applications, mortgage credit pulls, those things are down, right? And the funny thing is, if you look at a wide scope, pull back and look at all of 2023.
All right, but we're comparing today to the unicorn years.
No, I'm looking at this year.
No, okay, but if you compare to like 2017 and 2018,
Right.
pre-pandemic, it's kind of normal.
Kind of normal. Yeah.
We have a more balanced market.
Right.
There's still low inventory, but it's growing inventory because houses are sitting, oh gosh, more than 7 days. But it's not, an alarming, like a 30-day market average for a listing is not awful.
No, not at all.
Houses are still selling. There is a little bit more back and forth between buyers and sellers with negotiating. That's healthy.
Right.
What we saw for the last 3 years was not healthy.
Not at all.
And now we agents are actually working. We're actually out there marketing our properties and working with people to try to make it happen. So for somebody who wants to buy a house, there are houses. it's lower inventory. I'm having to work harder.
Right.
But so what?
So I would say that there's about 5 markets that are going to fall in the category of what you're talking about. If you look at Texas, Florida, the Carolinas, Tennessee, here,
Yes.
it's like, what recession? Pick up the phone and call someone in Chicago. Call someone in New Jersey. Call someone in...
The ones who are moving here.
Everyone's
I just
moving here.
met with people from Illinois.
Yeah, so it's on a nationwide, housing is in a big time crisis. We don't feel it a lot because, like we talked about earlier, the demographics that exist in Atlanta are prime for a great housing market, right? Which is good news for us. We should celebrate that. So if you're watching this and you're in Atlanta, yes, you should be buying a house, right? It's a great time. But overall, we already led into a recession. And with the coming of the new year, we should be leading out of it. Because as other industries start looking a little bit lower, right? If you look at auto workers are on strike, right? There's the auto industry is now going to take a hit. You look at some building stuff and some financial stuff, like it's happening. But when that starts happening, what does the Fed always do? What's our answer? Let's lower rates so people can refi and save some money. So we're going to have that refi boom next year, which that's why I think rates are going to come down.
But with the lower rates, the sales prices are going to increase, right?
It's a double-edged sword.
That's a tough one.
It's like a seesaw.
Demand will cause sales prices to go back up. So with
Yeah.
lower rates, the people who have not purchased, that have been sitting on the sidelines, are likely to flood the market. At that point, sellers with multiple offers, and over the last couple of years, I think the buying public has been conditioned to throw it all in there. At 3%, it was different.
Yeah.
At 6 to 7%, maybe not. But again, it's a healthier market than it was during pandemic.
Yeah.
I like
For sure.
It,
100%.
there needs to be the yin and the yang in place for our republic to work well.
And there's a lot of people, like the economists call, velvet handcuffs.
Yes,
Cuffs.
golden velvet, same thing.
Velvet is the term, but it's where you're kind of, okay, look at my family. Are we in the perfect house? No, but our rate's 3%. I'm not going to sell my house right now and go into a 7.5% interest rate. So therefore, I am like kind of locked into my house. I have handcuffs on, but I'm comfortable. I'm fine. They're velvet. Everything's okay. They're soft. So when the rates go down, what we hope is that those people who are like, well, I don't want to list my house. 1, inventory's low. 2, I don't want a higher rate because I'm sitting here with 3%. When rates get to 4 or 5%, maybe even the low 6s, we'll see people list their homes, right? So then that fixes, like you said, supply and demand. If you have more supply, demand goes down. So therefore, we shouldn't see 2020 where the house is listed for 500 and it sells for 625.
Right. Right now, we're seeing a slight uptick in inventory. It's still not enough. Now, in certain price points, in certain areas, everything I'm saying is out the window because there are pockets that are still super, super hot. No inventory and increasing prices. But for the whole metro Atlanta area, we're starting to see, longer days on market and more inventory, which puts some balance in place, which is exactly what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
So
I think one important comment too on people holding on to the 3 or 4% interest rate that they have is that number is very tangible. And so there's a lot of people that are hanging on to the 3 or 4% interest rate, but maybe their other debts are increasing because affordability, like you mentioned previously, is kind of low. So overwhelming credit card debt, auto loans, all these things that, maybe a little bit more variable and maybe are causing pressure or burden on the people who are holding on to 3 or 4%, they might actually have a lower overall monthly debt payment if they were to have a 7% rate.
So you're thinking those 22% rate credit cards are not a good idea?
29.99.
Is that what they are now?
I looked at my Amex the other day, about fell out of my chair.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Wow. So for people who carry credit card debt or auto payments in excess to a certain point, sometimes selling and getting into a different home, wiping out their debt, assuming they can stay disciplined, their overall net worth and their overall financial picture could be improved by making that move.
Absolutely. If they, overwhelming credit card debt, the 3 to 7 sounds scary, but again, 29% credit card debt, if you sell your house and buy a new house with a 7% interest rate, but eliminate all the credit card debt, all your maybe student loans, all these other debts, because you have the appreciation from the last 2 years to use that equity. Now maybe you're in a better financial spot.
That is the best argument for buying a home sooner rather than later than anybody. I mean, that's what we need to shout from the rooftops, because somebody who buys now in 3 to 4 years, like, they're just going to be way better positioned.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, just to reiterate what we said earlier, it's speaking with the lender sooner than later, as early as possible, so that you can have the financial picture to create a game plan, to work on your credit. I'll let you know exactly, hey, do X, Y, Z in this amount of time, your credit will likely be here, and that's going to be a better position. In addition to that, it's, getting down and actually making a budget so that you can save, because people our age, I'll say, are very unwilling to make a budget.
Starbucks is really good.
Starbucks is great. Your friends spontaneously say, hey, it's the weekend, let's go out and have, beverages or have fun. And, you don't think about it when you're in that moment, how much you're actually spending. But if you can commit to a budget, then you'll know exactly how much you're saving each month. And then that can be stockpiled into your down payment for the future. Or you ask mom and dad for help. The bank of mom.
But to create the budget, to start the budget, definitely talk to a lender, Supreme Lending, Luke and Cale, to just get that ball rolling. Because
I think, too, people your age, even more so than people my age, they're so apt to go online to find the information they're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
And what I think is important to introduce you both to say, these are real people who are really working and really want to get to know and help. And having a relationship with somebody in the industry is of paramount. Fine, do all your preliminary work online, but then make the call and talk to somebody who actually cares and knows what to do.
And I would say it's not that hard. Like, that's the good news. It's really not that hard. You can talk to people. Luke and I, we can put together these budget plans and tell you, okay, if you want to spend this much on a house payment, then you need to be looking at this price point. But utilize YouTube as well. Because most people, again, if you said how much are your expenses every month, they don't know, right? So I think that's step one, is how much are your obligations every single month right now? What is that number, right? If you don't know that number, then you can forget about even trying to make a budget. So just finding out what are your obligations day one, and then how to project going forward, then you can actually save stuff. And most of us get discouraged because
it's hard.
It's hard, but it looks small.
Right.
But again, it's like sometimes you just can't see the forest through the trees, where if it's small, something is better than nothing. 2 years are going to pass regardless. Why would you not save $100 a month for 2 years, then save nothing and just waste it all, right? So it's just, we need to mature a little bit as people. If we matured a little bit and we put our big boy pants on, then, and I'm speaking in the mirror, by the way. Like, I'm looking at myself and we all need to do this. Yes. But again, something is better than nothing.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you found this insightful and helpful. Follow us on YouTube and on wherever you listen to your favorite podcast for more helpful information. I'm going to sign off. I'm Deborah Morton with Clario Real Estate.
I'm Cale Lord with Supreme Lending. Let us know how we can help.
Luke Hale with Supreme Lending.
Mark and Elise with Clario Real Estate.